Hey, what's up everybody? J7409 here. This press release came out a couple of hours ago this morning on March 11th, 2013. It seems NASA discovery proves the Bible scientifically accurate. Whoa, get back. Now, this is from author Paul Hutchins. Let's check this out. I'm all happy myself. How about you?
Well, personally, I'm a little bit concerned with your wording of that opening statement. It seems to imply that NASA have confirmed the Bible to be accurate.
It seems that out of Florida today, for generations, the statement at Genesis 1:2, now the earth proved to be formless and waste, has made no logical sense to Bible scholars or scientists until now.
When you talk about press releases concerning NASA findings out of Orlando, Florida, you're making it sound like this is actually from NASA. But at least you've told us who wrote this press release.
Now, this is from author Paul Hutchins.
It took a bit of Googling, but Paul Hutchins is J. Paul Hutchins, a chap who likes writing books, mangling NASA press releases, and playing with the ambiguity of biblical languages until they both fit together.
According to data scientists have gathered from a protoplanetary disk surrounding the star system Kukata 4 in Taurus constellation, planets like Earth form in darkness from leftover waste and debris from their central star, coinciding with Genesis' description of Earth being formless and waste in its early stages of development.
I want to know which version of the Bible you're using. I checked 21 different translations, only 4 say waste, none say formless and waste, and most say formless and empty or void. But more importantly, what you've done here is you've conflated the two definitions of the word debris, one being scattered pieces of rubbish or remains, and the other is a loose natural material consisting especially of broken pieces of rock. When people say planets are formed from debris, they mean this second definition. So the basic premise is already flawed, so let's see where you go with it.
Now, it seems that when reviewing NASA's data on this process and comparing it to Genesis' brief description of Earth's formation, the Bible's description is amazingly accurate in view of the fact that the Hebrew word translated day, yom, can mean various lengths of time, not a just 24-hour period.
Correct. Yom can mean any length of time, and that's super handy when you want to take something that's traditionally been translated to mean a literal day and make it cover several million years. But even then, the Genesis version of creation is still wildly inaccurate when compared to what actually happened.
NASA's findings also reveal that as a planet matures inside its dusty cocoon, it gradually sucks up all the dust between it and the sun.
NASA doesn't say anything about a cocoon surrounding a maturing planet sucking up all the dust between it and a sun. What they've seen is possibly a relatively newly formed planet in a clearing of a dusty planet-forming disk.
The early stages of this process correspond to the statement in Genesis 1:3 for day 1, let there be light, diffuse light. Only in the later stages of planet formation would direct light from the already existing sun, moon, and stars be visible from the Earth.
The moon is not a light. Why do people keep saying the moon is a light?
This data corresponds to Genesis 1:16 for day 4 when viewed in the content of the Hebrew language, and God proceeded to make Ashah, the two great luminaries, and also the stars. The Hebrew word Ashah does not mean to create, but rather to accomplish or bring to completion. NASA's data shows that Earth formed from waste and debris from the sun, and that the light emerged slowly in stages in the exact same fashion described in Genesis.
Once again, super useful to have a word that you can use in any context that suits your argument. But aside from that, the description of how the planets are formed that you've given here is just, well, wrong, and even struggles to fit with any literal interpretations of Genesis. God creates heaven, then the earth, but the earth is just water. Then God creates light, he separates it from dark, then splits the water and calls the middle bit sky. Then he gathers the water at the bottom together and calls the dry bit land, creates plants, then he creates the sun and the moon. Then there's the scientific explanation, where there's a dense cloud of dust and gas collapses and ignites to form a star. Streams of charged particles from this new star push the lighter stuff further out, leaving the denser material. Over time, all this material starts to clump together, forming accretion disks that eventually go on to form planets and asteroids until pretty much all the small stuff is used up. But your argument is that the sun and the moon already existed, the earth was maturing inside a cocoon of dust that was sucking up all the dust between it and the sun, which gradually let in more light until you could see the sun, the moon and the stars. And that doesn't fit with either of the explanations. Now, this isn't the first time I've heard the argument that if you don't take the term day to literally mean 24 hours, but take it to mean an unspecified period of time, then the events of Genesis match up with a scientific understanding of the timeline of Earth's history. But that's just not true. There's no way you can slice it to fit. The sequence of events depicted in Genesis aren't even analogous to the actual sequence of events in the scientific understanding. We may not know everything about the creation of the Earth or exactly how life began, but we know there was land before there was water. We know the sky isn't sandwiched between the water above us and the land and the water below us. And we know the Earth was already nearly 4 billion years old by the time the first plants appeared. Oh, and land animals appeared well before there was anything flying. But when you not only have to play fast and loose with the factual information, but you also have to cherry pick from the version of events you claim to be literally true, then you have to admit that you're being at least a little bit intellectually dishonest.